My story is about a lady who was a symbol of bravery and courage. Her story was told by my mum, and recently I used her story to help a woman who was being bullied, and and I had to tell her that this woman um, is a woman who was quite courageous, and we are the daughters of this woman. So that did help her, but the negative side of that is the people in the room. I thought were my friends. They are behaving differently towards me because I stood up for this person, and they thought I'm friends with both people, but I had to do the right thing. And this lady is called Mai Pago, and she was a Sikh woman who led 40 Sikh soldiers against the Mughals in 1705. She killed several enemy soldiers on the battlefield and is considered to be a saint warrior by the Sikh nation for over 300 years. Her spear is still preserved at one of the gurdwaras in India, next to one of our gurus who stood up to unfairness, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and he always supported the vulnerable.
Okay. So my story is about a lady who was a neighbour from my childhood. I'm from North Yorkshire. If you can think about Coronation Street, that's the kind of street and community that we had. Auntie Sarah wasn't a biological auntie. She was a friend of my father's, and she helped me adjust to being a British Asian while I'm also a Muslim and Bengali. And I felt I was in two worlds when I stepped out of the front door at school, college, and then when I came home, all of the traditional expectations I had on me as a daughter. And in my teenage years, everything was coming to a head, but she was always there. She was consistent in her support, in her love, explaining things to me and my mum so that we could have a better relationship, and also always, I guess, advocated for women. So wanted me to go to university and be educated just like my brothers. She was a very compassionate, kind lady, and she didn't see race, ethnicity, age, gender, or anything like that. She had a second-hand shop at the end of our road, and she would keep the good pieces of clothing for me and my brothers, but she helped everyone in the community. And so I've taken that forward because I found myself in a similar situation in Loughborough with a friend's family, and their eldest daughter was going through something similar. And so I gave her support and shelter and encouraged her to go to university, and she's now doing a master's in psychology. Yeah, that's my story.
I chose a lady who was like my grandma to be the person who I wanted to talk about today. My mum was a very young mum, and she was taken under the wing of an older lady who became her best friend. And my mum was quite isolated. We were quite isolated, didn't have family around. And so Jean looked after us and became like my grandma. And she taught me to knit around about the age of 4. I was very, very young. And she would also knit cardigans and knit things for me and my brother. And So knitting was the gift that she gave us as a skill and then as a product of the things that she used to make. And in my life, I have taken that forward by teaching other people to knit and making gifts for friends and people.
Give to gain is quite an interesting topic. In some ways, I feel I have gained much more than I have given. My example that I brought today is a shalwar kameez that I actually wore today and I will wear tomorrow. It starts in John's store. I met someone called Purnina Chandra, who we must have got talking about Asian clothes and saris, etc. She was there, and I believe she was doing some fundraising for people with disabilities. She has a disabled family member. And she said, I can help you with saris. And bless her, she managed to bring me a bag of saris, and I was able to exchange a donation for her group in exchange. So that was sort of my give. But I went on to be able to take the saris to a stitching class, which was organised by Leicestershire County Council, and this was in the Loughborough Library. And that was absolutely fascinating. It was run by Liz Newton, who can teach 8 people at once, everybody doing different things. But this time, she had 8 people doing more or less the same thing and using a pattern that I think she'd found online. I learned a great deal with that course, and I learned a great deal from Liz. What I did to share information and to share saris with people in the class was a bit of my giving. Other of my giving was actually supporting people or encouraging them when the stitching perhaps didn't go well or things were not cut out properly, etc.
When I think about strength, I think about my mother, not the loud kind of strength, not the kind that demands attention, but the quiet, steady kind that carries a family through its hardest days. My mother has faced many challenges and struggles that could have broken her, but she never allowed fear to define her. She chose resilience. She chose faith. She chose to keep going. She taught me that strength is not about never falling. It's about rising every single time you do. She showed me that courage can look like holding everything together when life feels like it's falling apart. Because of her, when I face my own struggles, I don't give up. And my struggles were when my husband was not well. Because of her, I stand a little taller. Because of her, I know I'm stronger than I think. Today, on International Women's Day, I honor my mother and every woman whose quiet resilience shapes the next generation. The strongest women don't always stand in the spotlight. Sometimes they stand at the heart of a family, and that is where real power begins. I love my mom because she's shown me how to be strong.
I'm 66 years old, and in 2021, I was diagnosed with Parkinson. It came as a shock because I never thought I would have Parkinson's, but I have now. So my story is about positive thinking. Since I found out, I've always thought that I'm going to get through this with positive thinking. I've had a lot of support from my family and my friends, but nobody has actually said to me how my body has changed completely with Parkinson. So I'm a completely different person to what I used to be. I used to be a really jolly person, really socializing. I worked for Sainsbury's for 19 years on customer service, and I used to be a really chatty person. But Parkinson has made me a bit quieter, bit not myself. But even though I'm like that, I always think that I have to be positive mind and get through this myself and my family. I have a lot of issues with my body, but nobody talks about all the side effects you get with Parkinson's. I've been put on medication, so I take my medication every 3-4 hours. And when you go to the neurologist for your appointment, they give you more medicine. Then you have all these side effects. So you ring the nurse, Parkinson nurse, and they say, you just have to try these medicine. But it doesn't help because there's so many side effects. But my life is completely changed. And I just want somebody to say to me, it will be all right on the day. Thank you.
And I become widow very young age. And be a lady, a widow, you just suffer a lot in Asian, girl. So we just been through lots of bad time. When my husband passed away, I couldn't wear something or colorful or anything like that, I got 3 daughters, and I want to get them settled as well, So I had a tough time with my in-law side, But my daughter gave me a strength to be a strong mom, Don't just go down, Because I have to be stand up for them, So I done lots of things afterwards. My 3 daughters got married and got some grandchildren, and just I want my family to be happy for me, I just always ask them, how are you all the time, So very young age is very hard to, do lots of things. I didn't know anything what to do, financial wise or anything, But my girls were educated, so they helped me a lot, So I just become very strong now,
I was born in Uganda, which is in East Africa, in a town called Jinja. I was educated there from nursery through the secondary, achieving GCSEs. Back in those days, things were very different. Education for boys and not really for girls. My father wanted my brother to continue with further education and go to the university. I knew I wouldn't be allowed, so I started taking less interest in my studies. I got a job in the bank and started working. I then met my husband and got married. Shortly after, Idi Amin ordered all the Asians living in Uganda and who were not African citizens to leave Uganda within 50 days. Within 90 days, sorry. We had to leave our jobs, house and pets, and left Uganda with just 50 pounds. In the UK in 1972. Life here was completely different and it was frightening. I got a job in a hosiery mill as an examiner. I then had my first child born. When she started preschool, I started doing voluntary work for the community center and the place called The Garden, which is today known as Equality Action. I also started volunteering at my daughter's preschool. The teacher was very pleased with my work and encouraged me to complete preschool qualification. When I achieved my qualifications, I went on to work within Under-8s project, working with schools and the community centers. Loving my job, I then went to achieve youth work qualification and started a community girls group before becoming a homeschool liaison officer at Randall Primary School until I retired. Since retiring, I have started my own group for ladies called Anand Mangal Group, which means be happy. The group is based at Fearon Hall and currently 42 ladies on the register. We work with the range of agencies and schools. We do a lot of work with the Cultural Leicestershire, who are based at Leicestershire County Council, as well as Equality Action, Loughborough Museum, Library, etc. I continue to work with these agencies and schools whenever we are needed. I adore the community and will continue to serve it for many years to come.
A few years ago, I decided to take a course on dementia. At the time, I simply wanted to understand more, to be better informed, to be more aware, and to be able to support people properly. Completing that course and getting my dementia certificate was a turning point for me. It opened my eyes to the reality of dementia in a way I had not fully appreciated before. And becoming a dementia friend wasn't just a title, it was a commitment to seeing the person behind the condition. Working in a chemist gave me a front row seat to the everyday challenges people with dementia face. I met customers who came in regularly, and over time, I learned to recognize the signs, the hesitation, the confusion, the repeated questions, the moments where they just needed someone patient and familiar. Sometimes the smallest things made the biggest differences. Remembering their name, guiding them gently through what they needed, or simply giving them a moment to gather themselves without pressure. Those experiences taught me that dementia isn't just a medical condition, it's a human experience. And every person living with it deserves dignity, understanding, and compassion, as they might not realize what they are doing or saying. I realized that my role wasn't just to hand out medication. It was to be someone they could trust, someone who made their day a little easier. For the last 6 years, I helped care with my mother-in-law as she lived with dementia. That experience changed me in a ways no course ever could. I saw the good days and difficult days. I saw how dementia can slowly take pieces of a person. But I also saw how love, patience, and connection can bring them back, even if only for a moment.
So my story was just about me as a much younger girl at the age of 8 with maybe difficult times with family and with an absent father, and our mum coping with myself and 2 other daughters. So I would like to love that young girl a little bit more, be a bit more kind, but she's helped me to grow up and accept perhaps I'm a little bit eccentric. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to find your own tribe.
I went to college as a mature student on the Access to Higher Education course. I also took History CSE. Hence, having received an education, I wanted to pass on a piece of study for the benefit of others to Loughborough Library.
I had to think of one person that I wanted to speak about. There's so many friends out there that are so special and so amazing. So it would be unfair to single just one person out. So I was thinking, who could I speak about? And then this person, who I don't think gets enough credit and does so much for me, is my sister. She's younger than me, but I think she's always there looking after me. She's thinking about me. Whenever she's out shopping, she'll pick something up and she'll buy stuff for me. She knows exactly what my taste is like, and she always gets it right. I think a memorable holiday that she's booked for me was a caravan experience. We've never been on caravan holiday before. We always spoke about it, but never got around to booking it. So she booked it, and she didn't tell me. She just says, I've booked a holiday. You're going to have to drive because she doesn't drive. Are you okay to drive for about 3 hours somewhere? I thought, okay, I think I can cope with that. So I turn up to her house with my little one, and we get there, and she goes, here you go, this is the postcode. It didn't take 3 hours, it took like 5 hours. But we finally got to the place. It's somewhere in Devon. And it was such an amazing holiday. Up till this day, I still remember it. And it's such a wonderful thing she did for me, and I'll remember it forever.
So my story is a story of women all the way through my life, from a young age with my grandmother to working in a big office at a factory when I was 16, to carrying on working with women who have all gifted me recipe books and recipes, and helped someone who didn't have great organisational skills as a young person learn how to feed herself and cook meals and budget and shop and balance a budget and all things cooking. The cooking skills I have now, I got from other women. And then strong memories of passing those skills on to my children who both like cooking. So that's my story of being gifted something and passing it on. Opportunity. Pure, unassuming, non-judgmental opportunity. If it weren't for someone giving me an opportunity, I would not be the person I am today. This particular opportunity was given out of love, out of the pure joy of sharing a favourite sport with anyone who was willing, whether they were supposed to be there or not. I was not disabled. I was not a participant. I was neither a carer nor a parent. I was not a volunteer for that particular space. I was snooping. As I wandered around the area I'd been allocated to support, I noticed many cars being unloaded across the car park. It piqued my interest. I took it upon myself to investigate. When I got there, I saw many, many wheelchairs all lined up. Participants were asked to sit in them, given a brief health and safety talk, alongside explanations of the chair's different parts, and then off they went. Wow, this just got interesting. It's basketball in wheelchairs. I was mesmerised. It looked like so much fun. I didn't move, completely forgetting that I was supposed to be helping somewhere else, not gawping at people in wheelchairs. After the first session with the participants, a guy named Mike came up to me. "Did you want to go?" Oh, did I want to go. I was hooked. I was able to control the chair and, surprisingly, managed to get a couple of shots in the basket. Mike wasn't bothered that I wasn't disabled. He asked, though, and didn't want to assume either way. I explained I was able-bodied, but my knees became painful when running. "Well, if you can't play the running game, you can definitely play this game." Mike explained that wheelchair basketball was all-inclusive, being classed at the time as one of the most inclusive sports available. Non-disabled people played alongside those with any disability you could think of. Wheelchair basketball has been my home for over 20 years now. It's my safe space. For a long time, the only space where I felt accepted, where I truly felt a sense of belonging. Opportunity, that's all we ever need. No boxes to tick, no judgments to be made, just a chance to have a go, to learn, to problem solve and try again. Throughout my life, I have been trying to pay this wonderful offering forward. You never know when a gifted opportunity will change someone's life.